Good evening, learners. I'm Aisha Mariam. On behalf of Edubex, I'm welcoming you all to the webinar session. Today, we have Dr. Moana with us, and the topic is the role of business research in supply chain transformation. And this will be a recording session. Please fill the Google form for the recording session. And I'm welcoming Dr. Moana to the webinar. It's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Dr. Moana, a seasoned academic industry professional with over 3 decades of unparalleled experience spanning both sectors. Throughout her illustrious career, she has taught and trained more than 21,000 students and 2,800 executives across prestigious universities and corporate settings globally. An esteemed thought leader, Dr. Moana Shah has led and contributed numerous national and international research projects, focusing on sunrise sectors such as the built environment. She is widely recognized for her pioneering contributes to real estate, infrastructure, and project management education in India, having conceived over 120 courses curriculum, including several postgraduate programs. She holds a copyright for postgraduate program in real estate. Her academic credentials are further underscored by authorship of over 93 research papers and case studies, published in leading international journals, as well as 3 influential books: Millennials Poised to Lead, Real Estate Marketing 2009, and Property Matters Made Easy 2001. Dr. Shah is a recipient of several prestigious awards for teaching and research excellence from renowned institutions such as the Indian Building Congress, NICMA, and so on. She has been invited visiting professor at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University and Liverpool John Moores University, UK, and Symbiosis International University. She is actively involved in scholarly publishing, having served as editor of the Enigma Journal of Construction Management, a member of editorial board of the Journal of Project Management, Research in Practice, and as peer reviewer for several reputed journals, including the International Journal of Construction Management, Journal of Housing Research, and Journal of Construction Innovation. As the founder and director of Variety System and Research, she now leads initiative in training and competency development, leadership development, and select research project, delivering global solution by harnessing technology and cross-border expertise. And I'm welcoming Dr. Moana to our webinar section. Dr. Moana, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you. Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I hope you'll be with us, Aisha, throughout, so that if I need some help, you are going to be
Yeah, ma'am.
available to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice. So nice of you to give that introduction about me, and welcome everybody. There's been a slight delay, but let's see how we cover that up. I always love to be here on the Edubex guest sessions. They help me to actually work on some very good topics which are contemporary, which are essential, which all of us can make use of in whatever place we are in life, whether we are in service, whether we are entrepreneurs. Good ideas, good concepts always help us. So with this, welcome on board, and good afternoon to all of you. And we start the session on the role of research in supply chain transformation. Okay. And I'm Dr. Mona Shah. I'm an founder and director of learning outfit here in India, which is called Variety Systems and Research Incorporated. We do curriculum development. We do good academic programs for people across the world. So with this, we can see what are the major topics that I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover the introduction. We can see that after introduction, we'll do what are the general goals of procurement, what is the role of procurement, how does procurement fit into the whole larger system of any organization, and what is the value delivery that is expected from the department or the function of supply chain management or procurement, and how supply chain management professionals should be engaging the stakeholders in their in their business. We then come to sources of research, types of research for procurement, and some practical cases towards the end. And at the end, I will take some question and answers. So please feel free to use the chat And I think we can go through the question answers wherever I can. I will be happy to, take you through those answers and responses. So I'm looking forward to this nice dialogue between both of us, me and y'all who have signed up. And let's start this. So we know what research is, why research is, what we need to do about research. So uh, there are some generic what to say definitions of research. Okay, those generic definitions, like Fred Kurlinger says, that it is an organized inquiry designed and carried out to provide information, obviously for what reason? To solve a problem. So research in general is an organized inquiry. There's a way by which we go about it. There is a rigor by which we follow in order to get the findings. Creswell, on the other hand, says that research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information and to increase our understanding of a topic or an issue. So these are both generic definitions because it talks only about research. So this is, you could write a thesis, for instance. You are all undergoing a program now, and towards the end you all will have to write a thesis. So you will have to, Creswell's definition would come in handy, because it would be with some kind of objective that you will write your dissertation. You will try to go deeper into a topic of your choice, of your interest, and then you will collect and analyze a lot of data, and then you will try to come out with the findings for it. So business research is different from general research, like say academic research, or institutional research, or say what a country would undertake as research. Business research is only limited to the business and a problem which is there in the business. Okay. So it is a process of acquiring detailed information in all the areas of business and using such information in maximizing the sales and profit. So the only motive that business research undertakes is the final motive, the final goal of actually garnering more sales, more profit, more customers, more image and reputation. All these could be. So finally, image, reputation, everything translates into better business for the company or the organization. So business research is quite distinct from other research because it is very, very pointed. It is done for a purpose. And obviously, it is done to guide my managerial decisions, and it is done uh, 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 in an organized, systematic, database, critical, objective, scientific inquiry or investigation. So even if it is for business research, the underlying principle over here is that it should not be biased, it should not be false, it should not be exaggerated, it should be for people, for the business to come up with something in a systematic, critical, and scientific inquiry as the basis. So this is what one has to remember. And of course, it is generally for a strategic purpose. It is for the function of marketing and sales. It is for the function of organizational development. It could be for the function of finance and procurement. So it could be for any of these reasons that we carry out a business research. So, what generally are the goals in procurement? We know that, okay, right now we have said that it is for the purpose of business. Then, if it is for the purpose of business, then we should be asking what? What particularly in procurement is the purpose of conducting research? Because procurement is a major function of any business. So the first thing is, obviously, the way we go about it is we identify a variety of suitable suppliers so that we have a whole lot of them available to us whenever we need them. So you have to take it from the business perspective. So why does business, suppose you and I have a business, then why do we need, and we obviously are procuring some kind of raw material or some kind of services so that we can sell it into the marketplace. So our business's procurement function will do that for us so that we have a set of suitable suppliers, stable suppliers who we can rely on. The second is that the goals of any procurement function is to identify the gaps in the pre-existing contracts. That means if there are certain suppliers and they are they are supplying to us, we should still be vigilant. We should still be looking at the fact that what are the lacunae in those contracts. We have to identify those gaps and try to see that we can fulfill them. Then analyze the organization's spending patterns in order to assess current and future demands and expenditure. So it's not just what we are spending today, but we have to do something called what is everybody in data analytics now is using the typical word of predictive analytics. What is predictive analytics? It is forecasting based on a certain trend. So once we see the trend, we have to see how it will, how it will play out in the future. So we need to then plan backward, either in terms of the budgets, either in terms of changing the supplier, either in terms of modifying the product, etc., etc. Or any kind of strategic decision can be taken when we are able to do some kind of predictive analysis. That's how we can mitigate risks. So once we do a predictive analysis, we are able to mitigate the risks of suddenly, let's say, a stock out, suddenly an obsolescence problem that may come, suddenly a change that may occur, not because you have not foreseen it, but because it has happened somewhere in another corner of the country or the world or wherever where we were procuring, and suddenly we find that those vendors from those countries are unable to supply to us. So it's a huge risk and a whole variety of risks I'm talking about. I gave you some examples of that. So that's why we need to be all the time in procurement, we need to be kind of watching. Formulate an objective process for decision making. Yes, once we have all these things on board on our table, then we have to go to the chiefs of those functions and say, guys, we are warning you. These could be the problems. Let's look at it proactively before it becomes a crisis. Then we gather the information to develop the procurement department's capabilities also. So this is one very distinct one from the others, which are a typical way in which we, provide or fulfill the goals of procurement. The last one, you also need to keep on improving the competency of the procurement function and its functionaries. So all those executives who are working in the within the department of procurement, you have to see that by the way they do the research, by the way they are able to predict any risks that might arise, you are also improving their capabilities of becoming uh, better procurement professionals. So this is something that is the goal of procurement. Now, when is research undertaken? So, research is undertaken under certain, under certain circumstances. So, we obviously, when the product or service has a high level of expenditure, that means our costs are going through the roof. And market volatility means that the cost cannot be pegged down to a certain level, and the vendor is, raising the prices all the time, and we feel that as procurers we need to cut down on our expenditure because the input cost has to be kept pretty low. If the input costs become high, then the final price of our product will also go up, and that can affect the customers and the market share of the company. So we have to keep the costs down. When large scale procurements are required, we need to have proper research, because then we have to go out and check different kind of vendors from different places who can supply to us in the fastest, cheapest, and most effective way, or most guaranteed way. We need to look for these kind of vendors. Then, when any kind of situation involves unknown risks and are crucial for the performance of the organization, that means, let's say like in India, we are constantly talking about chips. We are talking about computer chips because the whole world is completely dependent on chips from, say, China or Taiwan. Actually, Taiwan. So the world's biggest manufacturer of computer chips is Taiwan, followed by China and one or two other places. So India decided that as a country, we can't have so much dependency on other countries. So we are trying hard now. Now, chip manufacturing is not for the weak-hearted at all. It has huge amount of upfront investment that has to be made. It has to have precision that is of another level altogether, because the chip size is becoming so even less than micro. It's now nano and even smaller than nano, and it holds terabytes of data. So this kind of skill, human skills, this kind of business skills also of being able to take up the risk of investing in a huge plant, and then coming out with precision chips, and then finding vendors all over the world is a massive thing. So what I'm trying to tell you is, it is still a better risk to take compared to not having chips at all. And when we are growing as an economy, we are the fourth largest economy in the world today. We as a country need to have better control over our manufacturing. So the idea is to make better chips. So and that's why we are talking about unknown risks that would come. But these risks have to be taken because it is crucial for the country's performance. And likewise, also, these things are important for the performance of the organization. So I gave you this example. So also, we see that, Dell computers and all these are trying to look at diversifying their procurement from the rest of the world, because too much dependence on Taiwan and too much dependence on China can lead to some kind of geopolitical problems in acquiring the chips on time and in the same value or price that they were doing so earlier. So they are also shopping around for other places, and India is trying to say that, okay, we'll come and do it. So it's who pushes this? It's the organizations like Elon Musk's Tesla and Dell and Intel and all these kind of people. These are the organizations who are pushing for to reduce their risks. I hope you have understood the point I'm trying to make. And finally, in this, we do research when resources should be made available at appropriate levels, considering risk, complexity, and cost of procurement. So my earlier example also covers all these factors that I have explained to you. When do we need little research? So when do we need research? When do we need only little research? We need little research, not too much of research, but we have to do it when products or services are readily available and have insignificant expenditure. A limited market analysis is required. So, we have to keep ourselves alert that even though right now, today, some products are available, it's not for long that, that company might last or something like that. So we have to keep a watch on who might be the other possible alternatives, or even if that raw material is going to go obsolete because of some change of technology, some change of process, some change of customers' need and preferences, whatever be the changes in the environment, we have to keep an eye on it, and then we have to see how we can work with the vendors. Though today it is readily available, tomorrow it might just go out of manufacture. So we have to be careful. So little research is required in terms of remaining alert. And when research is not required, it is not required when products and services are easily obtained at extremely low costs, okay, and low risks. So that is the time we need not have any analysis. Like for instance, you may be using a lot of drawing pins, or you may, to fix your things at home with a, paper or something like that. Or there are nails, correct? There are nails, there are hammers. Now, these are very low cost items, and these are definitely going to be required because we'll always need nails and we'll always need hammers for a very long time to come. Okay. So, unless and until there's a good, healthy demand for these things, or for glue for that matter, then we can say that we don't need research in such cases. But let me tell you, everything changed for procurement. Everything changed very, very, uh, uh, I mean, what to say, multifold when the COVID-19 struck the world. So during the pandemic, the way people within the organizations began to look at procurement changed completely. There was much more respect for this department, this function, than there ever was, in the earlier decades. So suddenly their reputation got enhanced because they had to procure under very, very difficult circumstances. So the COVID was a big shift. Also, procurement department becomes important when we move from generic goods, which we call commodity based goods. So just a bag full of rice, or a bag full of wheat, or just, when we go to the village market, all the unbranded products over there are commodity products. So those that when that changes and we begin to brand the salt, we begin to brand the rice, we begin to brand the even the food grains. That's when you begin to use a tactical approach, which is which is not tactical, it's more strategic, in fact, to find your right customer. So if you are in a village market, you'll see that all the goods over there are unbranded, including the clothes. Some fellow has come, he has this whole heap over there and he's selling the clothes, and people are just coming and picking up what they want. But the moment you go to a supermarket, you'll see that there are rows and rows and racks of branded goods. So whenever it moves from commodity based to branded, you need a proper procurement function to operate. And you need a robust outsourcing approach also to get products at the lowest price, in constant supply, and available, which you can mark up and sell in the to your customers. Then procurement came into limelight from the stakeholder perspective and supplier collaboration. Procurement began to just stop at some point in time. It became strategic procurement. From procurement, it became strategic procurement. Means what? That it began to talk about supplier relationship management. So up till now, you have heard of CRM, customer relationship management. You have probably in HR even heard of ERM, employee relationship management. But in procurement, we have something called supplier relationship management, or VRM, vendor relationship management, where we keep our network of vendors and satisfied and content with the way we, as an organization, we are dealing with them. And also internally, our stakeholders, which departments? The production department is our internal stakeholder. The marketing department is our internal stakeholder. The top management, the finance department, which actually pays the money, sanctions the money. All these are the stakeholders within the organization for procurement. So when we began to do strategic procurement, that's the time, we became important in the eyes of focal point in the eyes of the stakeholders. And of course, our ability to adjust resource allocation and utilization to fit the demand. So when procurement became agile, that's the time, it got a different, hue altogether, a different kind of respect altogether, because the Japanese were the first ones to bring that, and you may have heard of it in terms of inventory. You may have heard of it in just in time. Okay, so the JIT concept, the inventory concept, all these came from Japan. But that's when you have the best of predictive analysis you have to use, so that the vendor is so ready that everything gets onto the assembly line, or into the production just when you want it. So you don't have to hold any products, you don't have to keep an inventory and block your capital. So that's when the agility of a procurement is what to say is appreciated by the organization. Now, you have to understand that why procurement is so pivotal, it's so important. It's because anything that goes up to the customer, if you work backwards, you just look at this little diagram which I have made for you, you'll see that suppliers are at the bottom of that. If you're talking of a value chain, suppliers are the first and at the bottom of it. So only when the suppliers give you the raw materials, which we call the inbound logistics, as you must have heard of these terms when you have been studying supply chain, that's the time we are talking about, they being the most important. Now, this raw material goes into manufacturing, where work in progress happens. The production is taking place. The goods are being made out of these raw materials. And then we talk of outbound logistics, where the finished goods are being sent to the distributors, and from the distributors onwards to the final customers. So we are talking of, if you can see these half moons here, we are talking about the base, good raw materials, good suppliers, good, guarantee that they are giving it to us on time within the cost parameters. That helps us in manufacturing. We add value to that raw material, and then that final product is moving out to the customer. So in this whole thing, procurement is somewhere here. It starts, its function begins here, and it goes throughout till the product is sold. And then, if you see, it can come back to procurement here, back again to the place where it can come, because if there are defective goods, then again you are talking about coming back to procurement, and procurement going back to the suppliers and saying what went wrong. Was it the raw material? Was it something? Why was it rejected? So they will have to go to the suppliers, they will have to go back to the drawing board, that is to the production department, find out what's wrong with, whether there's something going wrong at the production level or at the raw material level, or then at the distribution level. So procurement that is why it is such an unending loop, or a continuous loop, as they say, when it comes to value delivery. So these three things are three parts, are links in the chain for the whole chain called value delivery. Okay. So we'll see now in the next slide, uh, what is now the strategic value of procurement. Okay. I want to know whether you have understood stuff up till now. So just tell me in the chat. You can give me a thumbs up, or if you have the sign, you can just do a thumbs up sign, and I will know. So in the chat, can you let me know whether you have understood what I'm saying? Can you put it in the chat and say yes? Okay. Very good. I found one person who's listening, and he said they can hear. Renu says yes, and Celia says very clear. So good. Kelebojile or Thompson, I don't know how to pronounce that, says it's clear. Very good. So I go ahead. So when can strategic value of procurement, when does it come up? It comes up when you are able to demonstrate, your function in procurement is able to demonstrate that you go just beyond the cost savings, and you can incorporate innovation. Now, this is a very tough game to solve, Um, Rukkero is saying, yes, some stuff we understand, but network is bad. Yeah, so sorry for you. You're going to get the recording, so don't worry, Rukkero. When can procurement demonstrate value which goes beyond cost savings and incorporate innovation in it? Very, very important. Because everybody looks at procurement to only give them the best cost. They never think that procurement is capable of anything more than that, and that they are people who can sit with the suppliers and come up with some innovative ideas. Okay, so when supply function finds opportunities for innovation, when it is able to effect supplier diversity, when it can plan cross category visibility. This is, we are talking about this in the case of supermarkets, where a variety of goods is kept together and, which can help one another. So let's say ink with fountain pens, correct? Or ballpoint pens with paper or pads. So these are things where, we call it cross category visibility. Then ensuring that business and supply continuity takes place, restrict cost avoidance, because every time if you go after cost, then you may not get good raw material. The quality gets affected. Okay, the quality gets affected, and if the quality gets affected, the final product and its quality also gets affected, which again is a risk where the customers may turn away from the company's products. So, procurement function is required to explain this effectively to the other functions in the business, and of course to manage risks, and continuing establishing a forum for external experts to provide insights. So there are some certain we can say you know experts, as in those who are in procurement. So those experts can come and they can, tell you uh, how to do it better. So generally, what happens in an organization, they say, procurement, why do you need to spend money? You don't need to spend so much money. We are not going to get, you only try to do something better than this. But not always we can do that. We need consultants. Like how I have come on Edubex and I'm taking you through a session. It's only one odd session that I will take, but it will provide you an insight which perhaps the normal theoretical sessions may not be able to do complete justice to. So that way, we need always some good thinking minds, and the procurement functionary should develop this kind of confidence to invite external experts to help them to improve the supply chain. Then, of course, give timely data to the senior management depending on the changing market conditions and trends. And after thorough research, challenging existing sourcing and production practices. So they should have the confidence to even look to the future and say, let's change the way we look at things. And this has happened. This has happened whenever today cost is the main, is the driver of business. After COVID, everything has become cost sensitive. So because it has become cost sensitive, the supply function also has become more challenging, and therefore uh, they do the right kind of research, and then they present their findings to the senior management, and they effect the change even before others are caught napping, as they say. If you delay, then you're caught napping. So they don't want that situation, and they're agile and proactive, and they can change the way production works. But you have to know the fact that you cannot just be like a cowboy and shoot through, from the hips. Yeah, okay, I'm saying it, and things will change, and therefore, guys, you have to listen to me. Cannot be like that. So you have to, as a procurement functionary or executive, you have to be able to present effectively at the topmost levels also if required. And that requires strong research backing. So do not go and, rush, as they say, like a bull into a china shop. You have to be able to, present a very cogent argument as to why you need the change in procurement. Okay, so this can only happen with research. Now we are talking about procurement in ESG and sustainability strategies. Now this is completely different, because ESG is something that the government, all those who are signatories to the climate change pact, where we have, as a globe, we are talking about reducing the carbon footprint. We are talking about bringing down the temperature of Mother Earth by 1.5 degrees by 2050. So this is where the sustainability issue comes in. This is where the world is trying to reduce its carbon footprint, and procurement plays a huge role. So how does it play a huge role, especially in ESG? See, nobody would tell you this, but this is becoming center stage everywhere. This is becoming extremely strategic. It is becoming extremely important. I have myself developed several curricula related to ESG. So many people are taking certifications in ESG, and they are trying to get jobs in different quarters, whether government, whether institutions, whether private corporations, or even turning green entrepreneurs themselves. Because this is so big now, it is so big, we cannot ignore it anymore. So, when we are talking about ESG and sustainability, we are talking about increasing the budget allocation so that we can, we can indulge in a green supply chain. Okay, so we reduce the embodied and embedded energy of the supply chain. So we try to have, let's say, what we call a local supply chain, because a local supply chain, if we are able to get vendors from the immediate locality, then the cost of transportation reduces. And when the cost of transportation reduces, the embodied energy that goes into that product also reduces. So, this is one example. Then, increasing the number of diverse suppliers. So, ESG means that you just don't keep procuring from one set of people, but other people who are trying to come up with, sustainable products. So, you try to procure from them also. You diversify and you bring them also on board. Then we have developing sustainability programs with stakeholders and suppliers. So you try to work with your suppliers, do some R&D with them, get them to reduce their energy that goes into the manufacture of their raw materials or whatever, and you induce them to move towards sustainability, and then you incorporate those. So we are seeing more and more and more Procter and Gamble, Unilever, and all these, they are reducing their chemical usage in their toiletries and their detergents and all these, and they are trying to incorporate green like herbs and tree produce and all that, to reduce the chemicals and the carbon and the subsequently the carbon footprint. So we are talking about green, going more green. See, even in toothpaste, we use a lot of chemicals. So now in India, there is a whole slew of toothpaste manufacturers who are using different kinds of herbs and reducing the chemicals in the toothpaste. So these are examples I'm giving you. Then we are talking about rewarding suppliers that achieve environmental, social, and governance objectives. So not just getting them on board, not just diversifying your supplier network to add green supply also in it, but also rewarding these so that they can, in some way or the other, incentivizing them or something so that they can do more with it, and developing procedures to address the company's ESG requirements and supply code. So there has to be a proper manual by which you acquire green products. So you have to help as procurement executives, you have to help in creating this manual so that even the employees or anybody who's working within that scope of ESG can begin to reduce the carbon footprint. So how? It's okay that ma'am has said all this up till now, and she said you have to do this and you have to do that, and suddenly we must be feeling that we are like heroes, correct? But we are not really heroes unless and until we get the knack and the tact of working with our stakeholders. So, as procurement professionals, here are a few skill sets that you will need to cultivate in order to engage with your internal as well as external stakeholders. So, your internal stakeholders, as I said, they are the functionaries from your company different departments, different people in the hierarchy, and external stakeholders. First and foremost are your suppliers and maybe your customers and so on and so forth. Okay, or your warehousing people, your transport, people, anyone whom the procurement engages. So first is that you need to cultivate what we call a solutions mindset. So you have to develop solutions in order to help your supply chain to your vendors and your suppliers to work better. You should use a lot of data analytics, because this whole session today is from using data for better decisions, correct? So you cannot forget the fact that unless and until you have a good backing of analytics, you cannot propose anything that is significant. Then you have to have the communication skills to create that awareness among the stakeholders towards ESG. And you have to, not just ESG, for any kind of change, if any innovation is what you are trying to introduce, you need to create that awareness by speaking positively to your stakeholders. Then, of course, you have to have that research acumen, because unless and until you do a scientific inquiry, you cannot base your argument on something which is substantial. And finally, even if you have the best research backing you, if you can't open your mouths and you can't network and you cannot influence your authority, then all that you have done will simply go into the dustbin or will be relegated into a cupboard, not to be seen and not to be acted upon. So you should have this ability to influence all the powers that be, say during the meetings or person to person contact and so on and so forth. These are the skills you require. So let's look at them. There are 5 skills that are very core to you. You have to have a solution development. That means you have to have something proper that you can propose. Data analytics, you should have that skill. Cultural awareness, you should be able to create that culture or change a culture if need be. And research acumen and influencing the authority. So let's see what is solution development. How can we do this? So the first thing that you do is that you develop your ability to influence people using data analytics. Now you'll see that data analytics comes in 2 places: at the beginning and at point number 6 and point number 9. Why? Because you need it at the beginning and you need it at the end. Okay, you need to keep on throughout the whole, uh, you know, process. Need to keep collecting data to see how you can influence the stakeholders. Then we come to formalizing, the supplier relationship management program. And this case is after COVID. After COVID, things changed, as I said. So it became very, very essential to, have a proper formal supplier relationship management program in place. So what are the elements of this? What does SRM contain? It contains one, procurement, increasing the frequency of formal meetings with key suppliers. So you have to now be proactive. You have to go out. When I say go out, I don't mean formally keep meeting them and wasting fuel and all that. But somehow you have to create time slots to meet them and to be talking to them, to finding out what is happening at their end. Then you have to increase the emphasis on the continuity of supply, because supply chain breakages can be very difficult to redo and rework. And increased emphasis on subcontractor locations and capabilities. As I told you earlier, I had given a talk here in Edubex about global supply chains. But after COVID, things changed so much that something that we had started as a whole from the 90s onwards suddenly changed, and we went local. So from global supply chains, we went back to local supply chains. So we have to ensure that we are aware of this also, that we are, we are not just looking at procuring from far away, we are also looking at seeing and developing our local capabilities. And then the focus in mitigating supply chain disruption and increased monitoring of the size and capabilities of preferred supplier list, okay, PSL members. So you have to keep looking at these things. Then we can see the second thing, second skills that came up that you need to have is the critical focus on risk management. So you have to be great risk managers. It's not just the finance department that does risk management. Every department does its own risks, different kinds of risks. So procurement also has its risks, such as first and foremost, you need to know is you have to recognize where is the risk coming from. Okay. So, and recognition of risk as a potential priority over cost saving. So sometimes it may happen that you may have a supplier who is giving you at a slightly higher rate, but at least you know that there's no risk of delay, there is no risk of stoppage, sudden stoppage in the supply. So you have to be able to, distinguish between how much importance cost has to be given and how much to the other factors which are also equally important. Then prioritizing the risk ratings. Now you have to do risk rating for every supplier because you have to have a plan B in place also. So you have to do risk ratings and data privacy policies. Now, all manufacturing, see, whenever I take sessions with the corporates, first thing they make me do, because I'm their vendor, the first thing they make me do is sign up a non-disclosure agreement. That means the training that I have done with them, I cannot do anywhere else. So that's a non-disclosure. I cannot talk about the company, and I cannot talk about the exact problems that I help them to solve and stuff like that. Okay. Likewise, this is in the services. I'm providing a service. In products also, there are manufacturers who have patents, who have trademarks, who have copyrights, who have all these kind of things, and they are therefore very cagey in giving out their details to the supplier. So they work only with those suppliers where they know that nothing will go out, and the data will remain within the confines of the vendor and the company. This is what it means. Then involving legal and IT solutions for the risk ratings. Obviously, we have to do that. Addressing risks with suppliers during the quarterly reports. The QBRs every time a review is taken. So quarterly reviews at that time, you have to address the risks and establishing a supplier risk management template. So these are the jobs and skills that we have to bring to the table when we are looking at the risk. So first one we saw in the previous slide, we saw the formalization of the SRM program. Second, we are seeing how to deal with risk. Third, we are going to see now, we move to another topic, which is technology. So all this is fine. These are the capabilities. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to have the skills to do it. But main is when you start your research, where will you go? So as a procurement person, you will have to, there are databases, there are places where you will go and search for your data. So here are a whole, lot of sources. Starts with, these are all used by different hundreds and thousands of procurement professionals all over the world. They use, you can take a screenshot of this if you want. Aeon, then they use Kashmir Resource Center, then they use the SIPs, where reports on procurement are, from time to time they are generated. Dun and Bradstreet, Gartner, the Hackett Group, then we have Jaeger, and we have Mercer. So these are some of the well-known reports on procurement index, then the types of procurement, the risk weightages also are given to them. So you can follow these sources very well. Further sources, as you can see, number 9, Nelson Hall reports, the Smart Cube reports, the Sourcing Industry Group, SIG, the Spend HQ, the Tableau procurement systems such as Ariba, Bravo, SAP, and Zycus. These are also systems, which are developed by, you know, enterprise resource planning, ERP companies like SAP and Ariba and Bravo and all. And finally, if you have, see, there at two ends you can do this in-house market intelligence. If you're a very small entrepreneur or a small company, you can't. If you can afford one report, which comes at a price, procure it. But if you feel you can do it in half that price by doing an in-house market intelligence, fair enough, use that, or use students as interns who can go collect the data for you. And you can, so this is at the small end of the spectrum. And if you're a very, very large organization also, then you will have the wherewithal, you'll have the money to spend, and you can then come up with your own in-house intelligence and research teams who you can deploy for the job. Now we come to the types of research in procurement. So in procurement, there are four types of research that you have to conduct. One is the segmentation. So it all starts with the customer's needs. Any of you who have done marketing will know that marketing is nothing but a function where you find customer needs and you fill in the gaps. Correct? This is the simplest, most rustic definition of marketing. Find a gap and fill it up. Okay? So when you're doing this, procurement will first need to see where are the customers, what are the needs, what are the preferences of this market, and then target it or go segment that market into smaller targets. Okay. So we know that it is called segmentation and targeting. Okay. This is the process by which we go about marketing. But procurement also uses this, because unless and until you understand, this data is used by procurement also, because they have to go and buy those raw materials in order to fill the gaps, the needs and wants of a customer. Then they also have to do what marketing does. They have to find out the approximate size of that market. What can be the size of the market? Is it just a local market? Is it a regional market? Is it a national level market? Is it an international market? And what kind of numbers are we talking? Are we just going to be giving a few thousand people, like how your local baker is making bread only for a small section of people? So he knows that I have to make 1,000 loaves because people will come and buy, and I will shut down the bakery and go. But when we are talking of a brand of say bakery or biscuit products which is known all over the world, then we are talking of somebody very, very different. We are talking of a scale which is massive, which has plants all over the world, and they are coming up with the cookies and biscuits for very, very large numbers of people. So we have to know the market size. Then we have to do the market forecast. It indicates what is going to happen in a given industry or sector. So suddenly, like in India, there's a whole change in habits of urban cookie consumers. So they are moving from cookies because they are high calorie and they have dense calorific value, and therefore everybody who's fitness conscious and all will not want to eat those because they have unsaturated fats, and they have syrup, or they have corn flour, or they have all these kind of things, highly refined flour. So many people are moving away from the traditional cookie or biscuit market that flourished for decades together. Now the many cookie companies are changing and talking about healthy cookies by adding roughage in it, by adding fiber, by reducing the sugar content, and so on and so forth, or reducing the occurrence of or addition of saturated fats. We are talking of all these kind of things. So if you know that very famous example of Pepsi, and when it was under Indra Nui, who was the managing director and chief of Pepsi, they made a conscious decision to move away without, of course, giving up on Lay's and Pepsi Cola. They moved to adding many more healthy products into their product line. Okay. So what they forecasted that in America, people are getting very health conscious. In Europe, people are getting extremely health conscious. Everybody is talking of fitness. Everybody is talking about being thin and running their marathons and so on and so forth. So as a whole conglomerate, they decided that they will move from the traditional high calorie goods to low calorie healthy diet. So this is an example of how market forecast help them to move to changing their product line. And finally, we as procurers, we do a SWOT analysis. We analyze the strengths, weaknesses, possibilities, and threats faced by the company or the organization, and then we, of course, prepare our strategic plan. So we use a lot of digital now. We should not be only relying on the manual ways of doing things or just going by hearsay and okay, I know this vendor because he belongs. My family member knows his uncle, and that uncle knows that person, and therefore through this network I have found this vendor. No, that won't do anymore. Slowly, you have to be searching through digital means. It's okay, as I said, for a bakery owner to go by good, family relations, that somebody gives him the flour and somebody, gives him the premises and he rents it out and bakes his bread and goes home. It's different now. If the scale is higher, you will need to go digital. You will need to use technology. So, what are some of the technologies that are available in digital? One is, of course, blockchain for tracking and tracing. So, as soon as the consignment leaves their factories and is or from wherever the source is and is reaching your manufacturing plant, you can track and trace it. Digital tools that use simulation and machine learning to analyze the data, digital tools to assist with developing future strategies. So, if you can, as I said, see the trend, then you can do a predictive analysis also as to how, if there have been some disruptions, let's say, in the way the goods are transported to your factory, then you can see whether these disruptions are going to, how much they will affect your supply chain, sorry, your production line, and what kind of losses you will be incurring on an hourly basis or daily basis or weekly basis, as the case may be. This will help you to improve your risks risk management. Then robotic process automation to digitalize transactional and operational processes. So, if you have warehouses where you're stocking the goods, now smart warehouses means that they use RPA. And RPA can tell you how much stock is available at any point in time by just, the robo going to that point and being able to, get the correct and accurate picture of the inventory. And of course, contract management platforms that use artificial intelligence, AI, to increase their efficiency. So these are the some of the digital ways in which procurement can take place. So now, obviously, when we talk of all the trends are happening, you should know what are the kind of stuff that is taking place in procurement. You must know what is the future also, what is going to happen, what is already happening in different parts of the world, and what is now going to happen globally. One is, of course, the importance of ESG. We know also that inflation is on the rise. The moment you have skirmishes and wars here and there, you know that energy is going to get affected, and you are going to see that those countries which are known, geopolitical risks as they are called, they are going to disrupt the supply chain by increasing inflation. And digitalization is also something that is going to improve and increase. Structural transformation of procurement is going to happen. You know, many times the structural transformation is in the form of uh, situating your manufacturing facilities. Okay. And then this, as I said, many new countries like say Vietnam, India, and these are coming up as destinations which were never even thought of before a few years ago when it came to high tech products. Okay. uh, a lot of movement is happening towards Africa, in many products that are now being labeled out of Africa and supplied to the whole world. So something that we other Asian countries were good at, those are moving into Africa now, and Africa is supplying. Then, of course, demand management, risk management, supply relationship management programs, working capital, and the ability to look for value beyond cost. This is also an increasing trend, that how good is how much value are we getting from whatever we are procuring beyond just the cost. Because when you try to beat costs, as I keep saying, the quality also goes down. So therefore, people have begun to rethink on this, that always lower cost is not always the right choice. You have to look at good value also. And security of supply and crisis management, that is also going to be extremely sensitive for the procurer. As I told you, there are lots of places in the in the world that are facing difficult times and skirmishes. So it brings in a certain degree of vulnerability to the supply chain. So with this, we come to the last part. Exactly an hour ago we began, and now these last three slides are for the cases. I have selected a few cases for you, and how, with the use of data and research, three major global companies changed their entire procurement function. So the first, you may have heard of John Deere. It is a supplier of machinery in agriculture, construction, home, lawn care, and all these kind of you know uh, industries. So the highlights of the case is that they had a very large product range, and most of their equipment is such that it is susceptible to seasonal demand. So whether it is lawn care products, or whether it is agriculture, or whether it is construction, no matter where in the world you are, you may be in a snow bound area, you may be in a country like India where there are rains that happen very copiously during the monsoons. That time construction stops, so your equipment cannot be used. But agricultural equipment is used a lot, or pre-monsoon we use a lot of it, or during the snowy season in other parts of the world, like say Russia or wherever, there's no agriculture happening. But lawn care in products are see higher demand when the uh, 4 months of spring and summer are upon them. So, like this is what they mean by seasonal demand. The dealer inventory was being replenished weekly from various warehouses near the manufacturing unit. So, whenever there was a spike in demand, whenever they used to look for the closest warehouses and pull in those products from there, and then sell. So, as a result of this, the costs were going up. That became the major problem. So this is a case related to increased costs because of warehousing and transportation. So the solution here was to reduce the costs. So first thing they did was they redesigned their supply chain network. Then the commissioning of intermediate merge centers happened, optimizing cross-dock terminal locations. So what they did was, they many warehouses that were around them, they reduced those numbers, and they merged certain centers together. So if there was a demand, an order placed from say point A, and another from point Z, and another from say point S, then they saw which was that center which could best supply them in the least transportation cost and the fastest delivery. So they merged unwanted centers, and this is what they did to send during the season. And of course, cross dock terminal locations, that means uh, equipment that was not being used during the seasons, when non-season, they were kept in certain locations, where after that they were then brought to the center location. So they were then just docked over there, because nobody would, the demand falls almost to zero, no, almost, when it's when those seasons are not on. So then that's the time they shifted all the inventory into a terminal location. Then they consolidated shipments through bulk break terminals during the during the season, and introduced third-party logistic companies. So when they found that one delivering one wheel loader or a a batching plant for a construction site, if one client was there and the client was too far away, then what they did was, instead of supplying them, they used told the middlemen called third party logistics companies would come and deliver that to the customer. So this way they did not have to carry inventory in warehouses. They could directly supply to the customer. The result was the inventory reduced by $1 billion. There was a reduction in customer delivery lead time and the annual transportation cost savings of 5%, which is very substantial for a company the size of John Deere. Now we come to another company called Avaya. It is a telecom and communications technology company. The case deals with poor supply chain because of too many acquisitions too quickly. So, because it's a telecom company, they kept acquiring startups, different companies. They kept on buying them out. So, cash to cash cycle was adversely affected, and manual supply chain processes were being used. So, there was excessive inventory, and costs were increasing because the inventory costs were going up. So they came up with a solution. First of all, they introduced cloud technology. But to introduce cloud technology, they had to do it in such a way. They opted for a phased program, okay, over a long term, because every department had to become mature enough to understand the cloud technology and its applications. Uh, so that required a cultural change amongst all the departments. So they invested in top talent and implemented a system of rigorous benchmarking and key performance indicators. And when they did that, the results were there to see. Their inventory turnover increased to 100%. So here we see right in the beginning, there was excess inventory, and that inventory was sluggish. It wasn't being sold. Here you see that inventory turnover increased by 200%, reduction in cash ties to stock by 94%, and overall supply expenditure was cut into half. So that was a huge saving. Now we come to the third. Now this is, so we saw one uh, mechanical equipment company. We saw one which was a high-tech telecom company. Now we are seeing the third, which is a consumer goods. Just, it's about dry fruits. It's about FMCG. Okay. So now the highlights of this company: poor production management resulting in faulty forecasting and planning. So because they could not forecast properly, the production system was going haywire. The production costs were increasing because they were buying from the vendors at the last moment, and at the last moment, vendors see, if you don't do contracts which are early on, they are called future contracts. If you don't do future contracts, you cannot have a control on the prices. So they were buying at the last moment at high rates, and therefore production costs were going up. And the manual forecasting method using only spreadsheets was resulting in ineffective planning. So the solution was that they introduced a whole supply chain planning suite, which was a computerized suite of products. And the modules were introduced sequentially, and gains from improvement was realized over a period of time. So they didn't change everything drastically and overnight. They did it very, very slowly, and they did it, over a period of time. They implemented a sales and operations plan to synchronize order with production before the season, and the results accumulated over departmental coordination and software return on investment was 100%. So this entire planning software suite that they introduced, it gave its return full 100%, because the results were 15 to 20% increase in the forecasting accuracy. From manual, they began to use this computerized software solution. So forecasting improved, because forecasting improved, reduction in overtime also reduced from 25% initially to 8%, and therefore the production costs also came down, and 30% reduction in finished goods and spoilage. So you can see how much, how radical this change was and how good it was for that company. And with this, we come to the end of the session. We have seen, I summarize, we have covered introduction, goals, value delivery, then how to work with stakeholders, sources of research, types of research, and the practical cases that went with it. So now we can have Aisha, you can, you know, take over. If there are any questions, we can take those questions.
Okay, sure, ma'am.
Should I stop sharing or keep the screen on in case there are questions?
Okay. Lenas, now we can go for a questionnaire session. If you have any question, you can ask to Dr. Moana. Anyone have any questions?
Okay, if they don't have questions, they can go ahead and give some feedback. How did they like the session? That is something they can. So, Godfrey or Kelebogile, are you there? Somebody who goes by the name Techno BF6, if you are there, you can tell us. Could you understand the session? Uh, did you like the session? You can put it in the chat and let us know.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, that's Celia. Hello, Celia.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Celia. I'm from Mozambique.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you for the section and congratulations. It was a very, very good section, very clear. I'm not working in the procurement, but I'm a business teacher.
Okay.
So sometimes students, they come up with some question and it's a very, very interesting topic. That's why I decided to attend this section. So I learned a lot. I like the way you presented. I used to attend some workshops or webinars, and most of the hosts they used to read the slides, and I like the way you presented. You were explaining and giving examples. Actually, is the way I used to teach also my students, and it's a good way of for them to learn, right? I really 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 like the presentation. Um, well, my question is, for example, you mentioned the green supply, right?
Yes.
And we know if when we implemented the green supply, well, I said I'm not in the area, but it's my understanding. If I'm wrong, please correct me. It's a bit more expensive because the raw materials are expensive, and that will lead to expensive products, and that will affect, of course, our customers. So how can we try to balance this? It's true that people nowadays are changing their habits and costumes to a healthy costumes. People are more concerned about they are healthy and all these things, but also people they don't I don't know if they are prepared to expend more money, right? We want good things, but we don't want to spend a lot of money. Yes.
Good
So
question. Yes, I agree.
yeah, so how can we try to balance keeping the good quality? This is something that I used to teach my kids. If you want to produce something, don't look at the cost saving, but the quality. Because if you choose cheap raw material, that will affect
Yes,
the final product, right?
yes,
So how
yes.
can we try to balance this and be how can I say not out
I
of date?
understand. I think I
Yes.
understand what you're saying. Yes.
Thank
Basically,
you. Thank you, ma'am.
we spoke about value versus cost. Remember that? I said that at times you are going to have to be able to, take a stand on value versus cost. So many times this dilemma is sorted by even government intervention. So let's say solar, for instance. Now we all know that if the government wants us to use solar in India, you can have any number of examples. Please go through those. I'll just mention one or two to you. We used to have these incandescent bulbs which consumed a lot of electricity and gave out a lot of heat also. So because of that, the energy usage was too high, and it was the bills also used to be too much. So now with climate change and signatories to the COP20, we have changed. The entire nation has moved to something called LED lighting. Okay, so if we have street lights, then there are LED lights. Beyond above that, there's a solar panel, and during the day, because India has a lot of sunshine, those solar panels get capture the light, change it into energy, and in the night, all our street lighting is done with these solars that are charged during the day. Then inside the homes we use LEDs, so they reduce the consumption of light, electricity, and therefore we also save on those costs. So subsidies are given. So LED bulbs that are used by Indians, there is a subsidy by the government which is given. So it is at source. If we use solar water heating, like many urban local bodies in our country have made it mandatory to use solar. So we don't use water heaters. We use solar heated water to bathe and to use for our daily consumption if we need hot water. So these are at the large scale level. Now we are talking of organizations. Now, obviously, large scale organizations, they will cover those costs over a period of time. So even if they invest today, they know that they will make those, they will get back only after a certain time, and they're willing to take those costs. As I said, Procter and Gamble and Unilever, and even food products, which use artificial flavored colorings or artificial flavors or colorings or anything, they can go carcinogenic at some point. So companies are changing the way their entire production chains. So if they're changing their production chain, they're investing in a new production line and technology. They are willing to do it because they know that over a period of time, they are meeting the needs of a customer that is getting more and more conscious about the products they consume. So, these kind of things are happening. So definitely initially in green also, costs go up, and then over a period of time they come down. I'll tell you the example of construction. Basically, I do a lot of research in construction and green buildings. So I've been tracking this now for 25 years, when green buildings were just being spoken of in our country. In the US, there was a green building, what to say, council, US GBC they call it. India GBC, Green Buildings Council, came up, and they began to, evangelize green techniques and green ways of building and construction. Today, green buildings are not as costly as they used to be, because I've done a whole research on this with my students 20 years ago, where we found that the initial costs of construction are high, and then over a period of time, the O&M, the operations and maintenance of the building, is reduced because of green technology. But today, even while the construction is there and it is placed in situ, means while the construction is going on, you can have a rainwater harvesting, or as I told you, a solar option, or LEDs for the common areas, because you have high-rise buildings and all that. Then you can have gray water recycling. All these, when your STPs, your sewerage treatment plants and all those, when they are changed, and in situ you use green technology and techniques, the cost of the building does not increase, and if at all it does, it's only by a marginal 2% or something like that, which the buyer is willing to pay for, because after he spends 20 years in that building, he has made a substantial saving which could run in millions of dollars, okay, or thousands of dollars, if not a million. So this is how we are. Initially, it may be high, Celia, but over a period of time, it reduces. So you have to have a plan, a proper ESG plan around it. I hope I've answered you. Uh,
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. So it's a long-term gain. We may think that we are spending a lot of money today, but in the future we will get the payback.
Yeah, and that is for complex technology-driven buildings. Here I'm talking about even those which are, I gave you the example of construction. That now it has come to a point where they are paying for themselves right at the beginning. Earlier, when that technology was not was new and it wasn't, very kind of popular, that's the time there was a spike in the initial costs. But today, most buildings that come with it, they, it is not so expensive, and it does not change the price point for the buyer. That's what I was trying to tell you. Like, for instance, if you buy a shampoo, which is a sustainability driven shampoo with, things added to it, herbs and all that, it won't cost you more, because over millions and millions and millions of units produced by the company, the costs just get evened out over that large volume. Okay, so it doesn't really cost you maybe just $1 more or something like that. But people who say that, okay, it's not going to spoil my hair, it's not going to spoil my skin, it's light on the earth, and those who care about Mother Earth, they would want to spend that extra buck just to feel easy on the conscience. And I don't want to go into something called, faith popcorns trends. There is something called SOS, okay, Save Our Society, which talks of green, which talks of sustainability, which talks of, saving Earth. So many people are moving towards that. I don't know in Mozambique whether people are worried about nature or not, because I read recently, a year or so ago, I think the Mozambique, you all had to kill your animals because there was no food for people, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is why the whole world is looking at a different, in a different way, at this whole thing. Oh, that was in Zambia. Okay, good, Reno. Thanks.
Thank
Welcome.
you so
Welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Oh, ma'am, we are getting so many messages about the session. Learners, if you have any other questions to ask, you can ask to Dr. Moana. I think they don't have any questions right now.
Okay, thank you so much. It was
Uh,
good to have this.
yeah, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable presentation. And thank you, Dr. Moana, for the insightful and engaging presentation. We truly appreciate the time and effort you took to share your knowledge with us. It was both informative and inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. And
Bye,
thank you,
everybody.
thank you, learners, for your patience also.
Thank you, Aisha. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, ma'am.